Another edition of Social Media News Live. So excited that you guys are here. I've got two of my favorite people in Connor. No, Connor's here too. I was talking about me, but okay, Connor's here.
I figured.
This is going to be a good show because Paul is back. He is an email expert. He knows so much stuff about email. He's helped out my email immensely, just listening and soaking up his knowledge. So you guys are going to enjoy this. Make sure you ask your questions wherever you're watching from, because this we'll try to answer as many as possible. We're going to make the show all about you. And also, if you're watching on a replay, we try to go back in and answer those as well. So this is going to be fun. If you know somebody who's struggling with their email, mention them wherever they're watching. And that way you can call them in, even if they can watch the replay, because it's going to be great. And we got our friend Ralph showing up saying, good morning, friends. Good morning to you, Ralph, as well. So we will get started in a minute. And we're going to be talking a lot about how to kickstart your email. Like most people, if you're like me, we've had a newsletter for a while and we really didn't do anything with it. We just kind of hit or miss, and like engagement was down. We may have had a big list, but it really wasn't performing. We're going to talk about all that stuff today. But first, after a little hiatus, Connor Brown is back on the show. Connor, how you doing, my friend? How is Florida? What you got going on?
It's great. I've been running around all over the place. I've been out of town, back in town, staying at some cool new hotels, some cool new Universal hotels. I'm happy to be back. You can't keep me away, Jeff. You simply can't.
I got to change that password. Yeah.
What we need to do right now, each of us have some pretty cool shirts on. So let's do a shirt rundown. I'm wearing Roosevelt's. I got Kermit the Frog all over it. Paul, also comment on your hat, Paul, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I had to go with my Star Wars stuff today. That's where I got my start on the whole digital space. So this is a Japan Star Wars Celebration exclusive. I was able to pick up online. It's all the advertisements for Star Wars toys back in the 80s and late 80s, early 70s. Yeah, and the hat is all the vintage figures, which that's my thing. Love it.
And this is from our friend Rich Watts. He sent me this. I got it yesterday. It's his shirt. It's Addicted to Dirt. He runs a PR agency for dirt track racing, which is super cool. And Rich is an amazing human as well. But I've got my Addicted to Dirt shirt on today, which I thought was pretty cool. So, Rich, thank you so much for sending that my way. I really do appreciate that. But, we're not talking about dirt track racing, even though that would be an amazing show. We are talking about email. I'm going to hit go on the podcast machine, and we'll get this show started. Hello, folks. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Connor Brown, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media and more.
Have you ever wondered why your email list feels more like an empty room than a buzzing community? Maybe you're curious on how the pros roll out the welcome mat for every new subscriber on their list, or maybe you're finally ready to share the lead magnet that's been hiding in your drafts. If any of those ring true, then you are in the right place, because today we're chatting with Paul Gowder, the mastermind behind powwows.com and a seasoned email marketer who's turned subscribers into superfans for more than 2 decades. Paul's pulling back the curtain on building a list from scratch, crafting a friendly welcome sequence in Kit, and nudging readers to hit reply. So sit back, clear your schedule, clear your mind, and get ready for this week's episode of Social Media News Live. Paul, how you doing, my friend?
I am great, Jeff. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to talking email again with you guys. And of course, your loyal listeners out there. I love the show. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, this is going to be great.
Well, we always love having Paul. Paul's one of our favorite people. If you don't know who Paul is, you should. Paul Gowder is the owner and founder of powwows.com, which has been the leading online community celebrating Native American culture for the past 25 years. Having visited hundreds of powwows around North America, Paul's been able to capture those events and publish them to millions of viewers on his website and YouTube channel. Having experienced the trials and tribulations of running a successful online community for the past 25 years, Paul helps other entrepreneurs navigate the successes and pitfalls of building an online business through his public speaking and consulting services. Again, welcome back to the show, Paul.
Thanks.
It'll be fun. I want to do a shout out to our friends over at Ecamm. They're the ones who sponsor the show. You can find out more about them by going to ecamm.com/Jeff. That's right, ecamm.com/Jeff. If you use code Jeff15, you'll save 15% on your first purchase over there. They are what make the show happen. So thankful for them to actually sponsor this crazy little show that we like to do. So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to be talking about how to kickstart your email. Once again, if you have any questions about this, make sure you drop them down wherever you're watching from, because we want to bring those questions up on screen. So, Paul, you've built kind of one of the largest online communities that I know, like with over 1 million followers, which is mind-boggling. So, but you've done this over the past 25 years. So, why do you believe email marketing should be at the core of community building and for marketers and small businesses? Why do you think email is so important?
Oh, there's a few reasons. For me, it is the place where I feel like I can really truly engage with my audience. Social media is awesome, and on our Facebook page we have 1.2 million followers now.
Wow.
And you go back and you look at your stats. It's crazy to see when you post something that maybe it'll get read by some days it's 10,000, some days it's 50,000, some days it's 500. You just never know. But I feel like when I write something in email, I know everybody on that list is going to get it. It's the place where I feel like I can really be me, and I can write from my perspective and talk with people. I think so many people miss that, thinking it's a one-to-many relationship, but it's not. It really is. You can make it a community. But for right now, things are changing so fast. Jeff, you talk a lot about AI, and AI is fantastic. But I think the thing that's going to separate all of us in what we do online is being our authentic self. And you can use AI to help you, do that, especially with email. But writing emails and being yourself in emails is one of the things that will separate you from all the other things out there, especially when we start seeing more and more and more AI. And I think that's what people are going to resonate with. You mentioned Ecamm, and I talked about this on my profile this week. Is the reason I love Ecamm. One, it's a great tool, but it's the people behind Ecamm, and it's the community feeling. It's the the people that actually care and help you. And those little touches, building community and building relationships with people through email, is one of the things that's going to set us apart as we move forward in this ever-changing social media landscape.
So it's funny you said that, Paul, because one of the things I read an article this morning, they were talking about the rise of AI content through mostly, the written word and stuff, and having this that's not controlled by the algorithms. It's something that somebody opts in. It's kind of like a podcast. I think the podcasting, live video, and email are kind of different from the algorithm, but the importance of people are going to really dive into like live events, emails where you're actually talking back and forth to people, and these things that AI can't really mimic right now, I think is really, really key. And we're thinking, I know you're doing the same thing of like, okay, how's this going to change our business? Because it's going to change, I think, every aspect of it eventually. Yeah. So I think being proactive and thinking how you can grow your list now, because this is where people are going to want to have those interactions, is key.
And email is things change so fast, right? I mean, Facebook Messenger is being used so much more now. There's my daughter, she does messaging on Instagram and Snapchat, and a little bit of text. I mean, the way we talk to each other has changed so fast. But the one thing that has been proven is we continue to read and open email. That right. is, things change. Email has been that one platform in the whole digital space that has really stayed around from the beginning. And I think there's a reason for it. It is a great platform for messaging, collaborating, talking. And so there's going to be a lot of trends and a lot of things that try to take over. But I think email is here to stay. And so many people slept on it for a long time. But as you read, Jeff, you go out there and look at some of the talkers and movers in the marketing world, and everybody's circling back to it now.
Right. Yeah.
Well, business. I love what you said. Yeah, I love what you said, Paul, about how people perceive it as one-to-many, but in reality, it's the most one-to-one platform that we have as marketers. And I also think the huge power in email is the ability that once you put someone on your list and you start to learn more about them, what their preferences are, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later, you can start making emails even more specific to their wants and their needs and their previous actions, which I think is just more powerful than any other thing out there when it comes to personalization. And when it starts, you have to start with a list, of course. And the best time to start your email list was yesterday. The second best time to start it is now, is today.
Right.
So, Paul,
Yeah.
for listeners who haven't started even with the email list building it yet, what do you think are some great first steps that you would recommend them taking?
I like to have people start with doing something really simple. I know people get overwhelmed with the whole aspect of email, and oh my God, I've got to write something every week. Let's put that aside. Now, I think that the easiest place to start is building that welcome sequence. Jeff mentioned it earlier. That's where I like to have people start, because we can just put in a little bit of work ahead of time, and then it's something you can use forever. So I recommend, building a 3 or 5 email series. Email sequences are just a series of emails that are delivered automatically, and just take your elevator pitch. We all should have, a 30-second, 60-second about who we are, what we do. Take that. I mean, put that in ChatGPT and have it write your welcome sequence. We can use AI in here and still be ourselves. Start there, right, and build that 3 email series of emails into a sequence. That's the best place to start. And then just do a simple landing page with just a form on your website, saying, hey, here's who I am, here's what I'm about, subscribe. It doesn't have to be super complicated. We can make this complicated, right? You're talking about, we can do all kinds of stuff with behavior and tags, and we can get crazy with it. But to start, let's build that simple email series, build one simple landing page, and start there.
Yeah. We've got some great questions already popping up from our amazing audience. And I want to bring this up from Ralph from Grit and Growth Business. He goes, what are some ways to get your email marketing to rise beyond the spam in everybody's inbox now that we are all getting hundreds of emails a day? This is a real issue in my view, which I think it's an issue for a lot of things. Social Media Examiner talked about, they started getting into the promotions tab or one of those other tabs that you don't want to be in on Gmail. And so it was a big issue, and they're still dealing with kind of the aftermath of that. So how do we, as marketers and small business owners, Paul, get in the place we need to and get those people opening our emails?
So the first thing I would say is let's look at our subject lines, and let's make sure that we're writing something that is actually going to be scroll stopping, that makes people look at it. So let's, if you can, use personalization. If you can, use some emojis, use some language there that is more than just weekly newsletter, or here's the latest post. Here's my latest podcast episode. Let's get away from that kind of stuff and actually put some language in your subject line that's going to get people to click. Then in your email, let's make sure we're putting some things in there that are going to spark conversations, spark people either clicking or replying. One of the things I'm using lately is Liz Wilcox's list gadgets. It's easy with that to put polls inside your email. It is so easy to build that. It's a cool little tool. And they came out with a new feature yesterday where you're able to actually let people write replies, and people can upvote. It's almost like a mini Reddit inside your email. So putting some stuff like that, or just asking a question in your email to get people to reply. And then second step is you replying to them. Those are all signals to Yahoo and Gmail and these other places that, hey, this email is actually, wanted, and people want to read it. So let's keep it out of promotions. Let's keep sending it to the inbox.
That's a great point. So what you're saying is getting more interaction from your emails instead of just people reading it, like asking them the questions, have them do some sort of action, signals the algorithm to put it in the right place to be seen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We all want our email to whether it's to drive traffic to our website, to get people to buy something, if we're selling a course or a service. Yes, that is the ultimate, but take small wins and just ask people to reply to you. One, like Connor said, this is the best one-on-one engagement tool you'll ever get, and starting that conversation, one, is going to tell Google this is a good email, but two, you never know what's going to come from that one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and especially being authentic, and becoming a place where people want to get your emails and open them and
Yeah.
read them. That comes with you sharing your expertise and your authenticity. But Paul, you did mention we can use AI to help us craft these things. And that goes into a question from Chris Stone, our friend, who says, I would imagine that if you started using exactly what AI was giving you and sending that directly to your audience, they'd be gone. They'd stop opening, those sorts of things. So, Paul, how do you balance authenticity with using AI to create these emails?
Yes, and I do. I use AI to help me write because it's a much better writer than I am. So what I try to do though when I'm writing an email is I always try to tell a story, talk about what I'm doing, putting that personal touch into it and telling Chat GPT. It's like, hey, look, here's what I did this week. Here's what I've got going on, and giving it an outline of what I want to do. Then you can take it and massage it. Never take what they give you and copy and paste it directly. Always, massage a little bit, make it your own.
Right.
But don't just put in there, write me an email about this week's podcast. I mean, that's not going to work, right? It's write me an email, catch my audience up on what I've been doing. Here's some things that happened with me. Here's a little behind, whatever it is, tell these little stories and then let it write based on that. Again, it's about adding your authenticity to the email.
Yeah. So one of the things, and like my Tuesday emails are mostly, I'll use me. Like it's a story. Yes. It's a thing I'm learning. I mean, we just talked yesterday about, what was it about? I can't even remember. It was really good. And like the one I sent out today, because I remember the one about today had a little bit of story in it, and then I talked about the show coming up. So, I don't use AI for the Tuesday one, but on the show one, I usually use it to help craft, like you were saying. And the best tool that I found is Lex.page, because we're going to be talking about Kit a little bit, because that's what you and I both use, and Connor uses it well. And it actually ties in and reads my past emails, uses my voice, does the subject line. So for me, it's not so much, hey, ChatGPT, write me an email. It's looking at all my past ones. It's got my voice. I go in and tweak it to make it sound like me, take out the M dashes and all that kind of stuff. But
yes.
But that's one of the things that it's very helpful, but it's still my voice, it's my stories, it's my show that I'm promoting. So Lex.page is great, and we'll talk about some more things a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about Kit. And you guys can find Lex.page and all that stuff. If you go to jeffc.com/toolbox, all the tools that I use for this show are there. So you can go sign up for Kit if you want to try that out. But one of the things about Kit is it's kind of our platform of choice, and it's a great option for beginners. But what features should a newbie focus on to get the most out of starting with their email marketing? I mean, Kit's got a free plan. MailChimp's got a free plan, Aweber, those are all different services. So what should we look at if we're just getting started? Maybe we've had a free account somewhere. What do we need to look at for picking an email platform?
Well, I love Kit because the interface to me works, and it's more organized for me. I think it's a much simpler thing. I was on MailChimp for a long time, and It's a great platform. To me, that feels a little more complicated. They like making emails pretty. And Kit focuses more on making emails engaging. So here's where I would start. Whatever email platform you're on, is write your emails in text, maybe a picture or two. There's so many. I was talking with somebody the other day about their email, and they sent me this PDF, and they're like, "Okay, so how do I get my email to look like this?" I'm like, "You don't do that. Please don't do that. Just write text." So that's the first thing I would say is if you're going to start writing emails, let's just make them simple, right? Just use a text-based email template and just write out your emails. It's going to do much better with your audience. It's going to do much better, again, with that whole deliverability thing. Don't try to make it look like a sales paper or, a flyer that you see in your mailbox. Please don't do that.
Right.
I think people are just so done with stock images, and especially when we go back to authenticity, when we go back to storytelling and content, it's all about that. I will say one thing about MailChimp. I think they just got rid of the automations in their free plan. So I think the power in email is, you can have a list and you can send out a cadence when you schedule it weekly, but it's really those automations that are what get you to the next level. So I would start with a tool that lets you do that from the get, because but mostly density. Sean's point, he loves Kit, but I'm so inconsistent with my emails. Paul is right. Kit is simple. So those automations are something that can help you stay consistent because you set it and forget it. One thing I want to ask you about, Paul, is uh, new marketers often worry about, what do I even send, right? What am I going to
Right.
start? We set up our initial automation like, hey, here we are. This is what we're about. This is how we can help you. But after that, what is it? Jeff's great because he finds a funny story every single week. You're great because you do the same thing. You also have a backlog of so much great content that you can consistently share with people. When you're first starting, how do you find the types of content that's going to work for emails so that you can be consistent as well?
Yeah. So I love starting with your welcome sequence. And then once we get that, again, I don't think you should worry about weekly broadcasts at first. Weekly messages are great and there's a place for them. But after you get your welcome sequence, let's think about what is the next kind of topical series of content that you have. So Connor, on your website, you have a whole bunch of stuff on that other place where the light doesn't shine, over there in Orlando.
I don't have any content about SeaWorld, so I don't know what you're talking about.
But could we build a series of emails, especially right now, on Epic Universe? Right? Could you sit down and for a couple of days focus on writing 5 emails about what is it that you need to know before your trip for Epic Universe? And if you can do that, right? If you can write something like that, that's going to take your pressure off. You don't have to worry about being consistent and sitting down every Monday to write that email, because after they do your welcome sequence, you can move them right into this next one. And then next month or the month after, let's write another one. Then let's write another one. I mean, on powwows.com, I don't even know how many sequences I have, and I'm getting ready to write 2 or 3 more, because you put in the work up front and then it kind of takes care of itself. So those are the things I think you should start with, because it is so overwhelming and people get so worried, about trying to show up every week and, God, what am I going to say this time? Let's just take what you already have. Let's turn those into some email automations and take your readers through those kind of journeys. And one is going to be super engaging, because if somebody, like in your welcome sequence, say if you, Connor, again, like at the end of your welcome sequence, you say, hey, by the way, I also have some information on what to expect at your first trip on Epic Universe. If somebody clicks on that, they actually do want to read that content, and they're going to go through those 5 or 6 emails really excited because you're sharing exactly what they asked for. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of the 2 things: welcome sequence, and then let's build some content sequences.
Yeah. Jeff, I kind of have a follow-up on that too, that I think, like, so when you think through that, Paul, are you, I think a good way to kind of look at it is, a sequence should kind of answer a question you always get asked, right? Or a topic that people are always asking you for advice for, that makes sense for your business and stuff. When you're coming up with all these sequences, are you coming up with, okay, what's going to be the next sequence that's going to appeal to the most people? Or what's going to be the next sequence that can then dovetail off of this sequence that just ended? Because I'm always interested with you on how you decide what's next, and how do you decide, okay, it's time to put these people somewhere else into a different sequence?
I've done it a couple different ways. I mean, my most popular sequence is what to expect at your first powwow. And that really came about because of the number of questions I get that are the same questions every time. How do I find a powwow? Am I allowed to go? What do I wear? What do I bring? What does this mean? Those kind of questions, I can answer all of them in that series of emails. And so it's that one is so easy to get people to go into it, because somebody messages me and says, oh my God, I don't know what to do. What time do I need to show up? I can say, hey, look, I'll help you. Here's what I think you should do. But then go check out this series of emails and it's going to answer all your questions. So that one was kind of based on need and questions. But then I also look and see, like one of the ones I'm getting ready to write, I look and see that a lot of things or a lot of traffic on our website goes to some of our articles about recipes and food and restaurants. And so I saw that the other day and I'm like, we do get a lot of traffic about that. People love seeing that content. Well, what if I write an email series about all of our food content? and kind of take people through all of that and highlight it. That it might not attract thousands, but the people that really want it, I can offer it up to them, and that's going to be another kind of journey I can take them on. So it's kind of, it's a different ways. If you see that you have a lot of traffic on a particular area or a lot of questions, let's look at that. Then let's look at, what is it that maybe you think could be a good path? I mean, again, it's so easy in the travel space to think of these like,
Right.
what to pack on your first cruise. That's a really easy series of kind of steps to go through. So it's a variety of ways. And so yeah, I'm constantly looking at our content and our emails and our questions, and then figuring out what I can add to it.
You
So
can also do that with like social posts too. Like I had a social post that people resonate with people about, the s'mores old fashioned here. And I'm like, oh, wow, people really like that. Let's craft like an email sequence around the best old fashions at Disney World, So I think you can, if you don't have a website that's getting a lot of traffic, use the other things that you've created content for, and that's have resonated with people.
Well, since you mentioned it, Connor, go ahead and tell people where they can find the Drunk Disney show or whatever you have going on.
I don't know where you can find the Drunk Disney show, but you can follow me at Theme Park Happy Hour on Instagram. Yes, the Drunk Disney show is whenever Jeff C comes into town.
That's right, exactly. So real quick, I want to go back to kind of what Sean was saying from but mostly Disney. Paul's a power user. Like he's got sequences that lead to sequences. It's like he is really in depth. But when you first get started, Paul, what would you say? Because what I have done, and I'm based off of your kind of teaching and training, is that I have the main sequence when somebody comes to my website, but I can actually craft that for different. I don't have to rewrite everything. I can just copy that sequence, change it like, hey, you're downloaded my toolkit, and just change it a little bit, but it's the same kind of sequence. You don't have to write a new sequence every time, is what I'm kind of getting at. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. I love having different entry points based on whatever, opt-in or topic. Like if you go and speak, like when we spoke at Podfest back in January, I had a specific welcome sequence that the people there, it wasn't a complete rewrite. I just took what I already had and kind of tailored it just for Podfest. So yeah, use the stuff. And Kit's really easy about just being able to duplicate a series of emails and then customize it. Yeah, it's super easy. And kind of talking about that, I see the question down there about, how to effectively build an email list. This is how you can really grow fast, is by offering entry points into your emails that are questions and pain points in your business. So again, for me, what are your most common questions? I'll answer them in a series of emails that people are going to want to click on that. They're going to want to subscribe. I think, again, using email series is such a great way to grow your email list.
So let's get real practical. Go ahead, Connor. Sorry.
I think one thing that's really important for the people to understand is Paul's been at this for a very long time. He's tried all of the marketing channels, right? I think it speaks volumes that, Paul, wouldn't you say your first action you want someone to take, whether it's a piece of content that they've engaged with you on social media or YouTube, Facebook, or an article they've read, you want to capture their email so then you can kind of craft what they do next. And that's kind of what you teach other people to do. If they have a product, a service, or they're just a creator, the first real thing you should do is, I need that email address, right?
Yes. That should be your number one call to action. I see so many people, like podcasters. I talked about this going back to Podfest. If you listen to a podcast today, listen to what their call to action is. It's probably going to be something like, hey, please go and like and subscribe, rate us on iTunes, click us on Spotify. It's going to be like this long litany of all this stuff to do. How about just make your call to action? Hey, by the way, if you want to know more about what I do, please go here and subscribe to my email list. Then you can do all those other things. You can get them to do that. But let's make our one call to action, get them on your email list. Again, the question about how do you effectively build, you have to start asking for email. You have to make your email opt-ins, you're asking for emails, a priority, whether it's in your podcast episode, your live stream, your social media content, or on the website. I mean, go and surf a website today and look at some of these websites where the email is in the footer and it just says subscribe. That's not how you build an email list, right? Yeah. So you got to ask for it. Make it a priority.
Yeah. By the way, if you want to join my email list, you can go to jeffc.com/news. to find out more. We do a email about Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then one always on Fridays about the show, jeffc.com/news. See, I had that ready and waiting just for you to say that, Paul. See?
Yeah.
You know?
There you go. That's it.
And we're experimenting with some new graphics, as you can see right there. So that's all done in Chat GPT. So one of the questions I want to ask you, Paul, is that you've been doing it, like you said, 25 years. I mean, that was probably before email even started. But I want to know you've got over 100K subscribers and in your niche. So I want to talk about, like, looking back, what's one of the things that you wish you had done sooner when you were building your list? In other words, like, what early lesson did you learn that could help someone like new avoid a pitfall in their first year of doing email marketing?
Not asking for email at the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing I see. I look back on, when we started, our first really big thing which started blowing up is when we had a forum, and people had to give us their email address to register. And I used the forum software to send emails. And that's when I started realizing how powerful email is, because I would send something out using vBulletin. Shout out, Lou. And you could see that people would reply and people would click. And it was such an effective way of getting traffic and getting people to come in. But I didn't do anything with those emails. I didn't keep them. And over the years, that has all changed, and I didn't get them into my email list. So that's the number one thing I see, is not doing that early enough. And then the early mistakes I made is trying to think. I spent years thinking that email was a marketing channel where I was trying to sell every time I sent an email, or trying to get people to drive traffic, click on this link is my kind of primary feature. And that's still important, right? Because that's how we make our money is
Right.
over here at powells.com is advertising and stuff like that. So it is important. But when I sat down and really thought about email, is I looked at my past emails and I was really just shouting at the audience, hey, do this, hey, do this, hey, do this. And so that's when I really made that change. It was about, it's been about 10 years now, and made that change to writing emails more personal, talking to them in my voice instead of just, hey, this brand says go click here.
Right.
So those are the two big mistakes, is really just not using email the right way and thinking of it more as a conversation and more as a community tool. That mindset shift changed everything about how I do email.
Yeah, I'd agree. That's when you had taught me that, you and Liz, that made a huge difference in my responses, the way I write emails, everything. And so that conversational style, if you think about the good ones that aren't like the 4400 or the, Morning Brew, which is kind of a digest thing, the ones that you read are people that you feel like you're close to, that provide value or tell a story, educate or entertain. So I think that being that conversational style of you writing to like someone a friend you'd send a message to, that's what changed everything for me. And I appreciate, your training on that.
I also think, to a point here from grit and growth, again, yes, Paul, but the problem is people are so annoyed with spam that they are very reluctant to give their email and follow through. I think that is true when it's crap, right? Like when it's something that they don't think they're going to get value from. And to Chris Stone's point, tell people what value they're going to get and then give it to them. So I think people are more open to giving their email address when they think they're going to get something of value, and they're more likely to say subscribed and click through those links and engage with you when you do show up for that. And I think that kind of dovetails into the importance of these welcome sequences, which we've already talked a lot about. But Paul, how does that kind of, one, set the tone for your new subscribers? And then also, how can you kind of craft an email sequence that immediately starts providing value? Because a lot of it is, hey, here's who I am, here's what I'm about, which is great. But at the end of the day, you also want to give the person value immediately. So what are some ways that an onboarding sequence can help just improve engagement overall?
All right. So I said earlier, I think your welcome sequence is where you start, and you should write that first. So when we talk about the welcome sequence, it should be your elevator pitch, but we're going to write it in how we want our audience to perceive it. We're not going to start our first email with, hey, I'm Paul Gowder and here's what I do. It's going to be more of, I've done this for this long and I know that this is a pain point for you. I know this is a pain point for you. Here's how I think you should handle it. It's going to be more, we're going to write it to help the audience, not just, tell them who we are and our accolades, right? But then the second part of that is, after we get that welcome sequence written, then we're going to start writing these other pieces of content, these other welcome sequences, whether it's what to expect at your first powwow, what to pack for your first Disney cruise, those kind of things. And we're going to take our welcome sequence and we're going to move that out of the way. We're going to make our what to expect at your first powwow the entry point. So if they subscribe, that first email is going to be, hey, I know powwows can be overwhelming and I know you're probably anxious. Here's how I'm going to help you. When they finish that, then I send them to the welcome sequence. So that's kind of the step 2 part is, let's craft these opt-ins, these lead magnets, and deliver that value right up front. Answer the question immediately. As soon as they subscribe, you send them an email that is going to kind of set the tone. That's how you really get people that are going to stay on your list. Worrying about spam, Connor, you talk about, there's so many crappy newsletters out there. It's because people are trying to force themselves to write weekly newsletters or daily newsletters. Let's don't worry about that right now. Write these series of emails and you will be amazed at the readership, the retention. The open rates on my sequences are sometimes double what my weekly newsletters are. And because they've asked for that, and then we give it to them. Chris Stone, you're so right. Tell them what you're going to get and then deliver it and pay off that value. And you're going to see real success with that.
So one of the things I want to hone in on what you said at the beginning is the way you craft those and the way you talk to people in the welcoming sequence. And I'm a big fan of story brand, and what you were saying fits right into that, because it's not about you. You are not the hero. You can talk about yourself, but you make your reader the hero of the story. Like, hey, and you're kind of like the Jedi, to use a Star Wars thing. It's like you're the Jedi that guides them along. Like, listen, I have struggled with this and I finally figured this out. Let me help you, and do it in a way that's very transparent and a very, you make them the hero, not yourself, is what I'm hearing. Instead of blasting like, hey, I'm Paul Gowder, I have 1 million Facebook page. You should listen to me because I am so important. It's different. It's a different way to craft those emails. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Exactly. We're going to write it to try to provide help and value to them, mixing in who you are and why they should care about what you do. But yeah, we're not going to write these as our resume piece. We're going to write these as, answering our readers' pain points.
Yeah, and you can do that in a way where you introduce yourself as well. I mean, that's what you do in your sequence.
Sure.
You still, but that's not the focus of, this is why you should listen to me. It's like, hey, I've been here. You've got this issue, or you've downloaded this thing to help solve this issue. This is some other things that I teach or can help you with, or what I've experienced. And then you move them into that process to get to know you better in that way. So, I mean, it's an art to it. It's not something that you can just like bang out really quickly. You have to kind of craft it for your voice. But once you do it, like you said, it makes a huge difference in keeping people subscribed and wanting to open your emails. On that note,
Gary,
go ahead.
I was going to say, Gary Vee wrote this book called Jab, Jab, Punch. And it's a mindset, right? Provide value, then make your ask. So when you're writing your welcome sequence, you got to provide value in all those emails. And then maybe your last one is, oh, by the way, I offer a service and you can pay me to do this, right? But you got to establish the trust, to know the likability, and actually show them that you have value and you have worth. Then you make your pitch.
Yeah, Guy Kawasaki calls it the NPR kind of strategy, because NPR gives all this value, this free public television, all this stuff, and then they have a pledge drive. They have that once a year, and that's when they hit it. But they've been given value that entire time, so I think that's really important. On that note, I know you've built like 52 email sequence that drives traffic. You kind of mentioned that a little bit. Like, that's insane. That's for a year they're getting an email that you have automated. So for someone just starting, how long should their first welcome sequence be? How can a beginner plan out a simple like 3 to 5 email sequence without feeling overwhelmed, and then maybe later, adjust that or copy and paste it for a new lead magnet or something like that?
Yeah. So I don't think people try to overcomplicate this and think about that when we're writing, it has to be perfect the first time. So let's just concentrate on writing your welcome sequence and putting enough value in it of what you have right now. You can change your welcome sequences. that what to expect at your first powwow, I had that email sequence going for several years, and then I went back and rewrote it and added several emails, and it's doing even better. So when you're writing your first one, it's not a published book. You can make changes to this. So don't worry about trying to make it perfect the first time. Just write, maybe start with 3 emails. I think we could all come up with 3 emails that talk about what we do and why we do it, and why people should care. That's a start there. And then, 6 months down the road, after you hear from your readers and you kind of answer more questions and you do more things, go back and retool it and add a few more. It's okay to keep honing these over the years.
That's a great point.
I think the big thing for so long has been, how do we get the user's email address? We give them something for free, right? We give them this lead magnet. And for so long, it was a PDF, right? It was a PDF download of something. It was a PDF checklist. It was a PDF calendar, whatever it was. But, Paul, you talk a lot about how simple lead magnets, which are sometimes just an email sequence, like the lead magnet is you get added to this email sequence, can work so much better than a fancy PDF download, and they can be easier for you to create, and they can provide more value to the customer, and also gets them in the rhythm of opening your emails. What are some easy, examples of the first, lead magnets people can create, and how do you also use Kit as a way to create your lead magnets or distribute your lead magnets?
Yeah, I mean, Kit makes it super easy. You can, create a form or a landing page. It's really simple. It's just here's what you're going to get. Here's my call to action. Here's the form. I think that's the best way. Then you just create the automation in Kit to deliver those series of emails. But first ones that you should create, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. Look at your content. Look at. I tell people to go look at your website. How's it organized? Are you organized by topics? Do you have WordPress categories? Maybe that should be some of your first sequences. If you've already organized your content into these vertical, well, you already have some sequences there that you can take your readers through. So start there. Just look at what you already have. Yeah, but you're so right, Connor. These PDFs, I think that they're okay, but I mean, how many of us have downloaded a PDF from a lead magnet, opened it, looked at it, and then tomorrow we forgot we even downloaded it?
Right.
Whereas if you build it as a series of emails, you know what happens tomorrow? They get email number 2 and they read email number 2, right? And they don't forget about you. You can make this thing of, Jeff mentioned, I have one that's 52 weeks long. You can make these longer and longer and continue to build that engagement and keep people interested. Yeah, I love delivering value in a series of emails as opposed to just a one-time PDF download.
So I want to kind of throw like a wrench, not a wrench, but a little rabbit trail, because you have told me, and for years, not years, but you've told me reading my emails that I should take my emails that I write and put them in a sequence. So let's talk about like the next steps. Let's say we've done this. We've got a thing we're emailing for a year. You have been encouraging me, which I have not done yet, is to take some of those emails and put them in a sequence. So can you talk about taking some of your evergreen stuff and creating a sequence from that? How does that work? Why would you want to do that? Because I still am on the fence.
Yeah. Okay. The first one I did like this is what I call my Throwback Thursday sequence on powwows.com. We have tons of articles, and actually probably too many. We're starting to cull out some of them, but we have so much content that we've published over 20 years. And I know that a reader who subscribes tomorrow doesn't know that we have 20 articles on these different topics. So with my Throwback Thursday, what I do is at the beginning of the year, we sit down and with the help of a VA, write these. And the emails are just, hey, we wrote an article about this. You might like it, and I think you might like it because this and this and this. And then it's a link to the article. They're very simple. And then we do one of those every week all the way through the year. That's a simple one that you can expose people to your past content. And I like it because, again, the person who comes in tomorrow, if we're sending those kind of emails out as weekly broadcasts, when they subscribe tomorrow, they missed the other 6 that might have been important to them. But if you do it in a series, everybody starts at email number 1 and goes all the way through the sequence. So I like to think too is if you're going to think about when you start moving to that next step and writing that weekly email, if you are somebody like you, Jeff, who writes weekly emails that are evergreen, it doesn't matter what time of year somebody reads your email, it's still valuable to them. Well, then could we put them into a sequence instead of sending them out as broadcasts? Because I mean, some of your emails, Jeff, are incredible. You do a great job on your Tuesday messages. And if I recommend your newsletter and somebody subscribes tomorrow, they're never going to see that email that came out 3 weeks ago that I thought was super great, because you're sending them out as weekly broadcasts. But if we put them in an automated series of emails, everybody who subscribes gets all of the emails at different times, depending on when you subscribe.
Right.
So your content, you continue to use those great emails that you've written. And again, going back to but mostly Disney said, that starts taking out some of that pressure to sit down and write every week. Because when we do write an email, say if you could sit down one week and write 2 or 3, you add those to your series, that's 3 more weeks that you can kick back and not worry about it.
That's a great point. I've still got to figure that out. So,
but Rich has a great point and a great question he's asking. He says, I have 1,500 subs. I haven't emailed in over 8 months. From scratch. Should I send all subs into this new sequence? P.S. I got Paul's course. It's super helpful. So I think this is applicable to so many people. So many people that have the join our email list at the bottom of their website, and they've been collecting emails in a slow roll, but they haven't done anything. And now months have gone by, years have gone by. How do you kickstart the program? Is it something where you say, hey, I know you subscribed a long time ago, but we're going to start emailing? And also with that, Paul, keeping in mind, we don't want a whole bunch of people to start unsubscribing right off the get because they never remembered signing up for this thing.
Right. I think you be honest and authentic, and you say, hey, look, I know you subscribed and it's been a while since I wrote you. I'm going to start doing some emails again. Are you interested? Do simple emails like that. Don't try to your first email blast to them doesn't have to be this long, super complicated email. Just write them and say, hey, by the way, I'm sorry. It's been a while, but I'm getting back on this. And then ask them a question. See if you can get some of them to reply to you. Again, we're going to make sure that we stay out of that promotions tab and the spam folders. Ask a very simple, I'm talking about these emails should be no more than like a paragraph, right? Very short, a quick call to action. Don't even put a link in there. Just ask for a reply. Hey, are you still interested in this? Or, hey, what is it about? Why did you subscribe in the first place? What are you looking to get from me? How can I help you? Those kind of just general questions. See if you can get somebody to reply, and then we can start working on building that sequence. And thanks, Rich, for buying the course. Please let me know if you have questions as you work through it. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are in that boat of they have this email list and they haven't touched it. Just start with that first little touch point and then go from there.
Those are great tips. One of the things I do want to do a shout out to are the folks who sponsor the show, Ecamm. You can find out more about them at going to ecamm.com/Jeff. You use code Jeff15 to save 15% on your first purchase. In fact, when you do that and sign up for Ecamm, they start you on a sequence because they get your email when you sign up, and it's really good. It gives you training. It's a great example of a good sequence for a product. If you have a company or you're trying to sell something, the way that Ecamm does it, it's really, really good. And the way they activate their community through email is a really great example. So, this is another great question really quick from Rich that we need to bring on. And he says, question 2, double opt-in, yay or nay? That's a thing, even on Kit, if you try to take it out, they'll say, oh, here's all the reasons why you should leave it. So what are your thoughts?
So I don't use double opt-in, but I also prune heavy. So if somebody's not opening, they're gone pretty quickly. Right now I have an email automation that if you haven't opened something in 90 days, you're given a couple of chances, but then you're gone. So that's the way I do it. Look at it case by case, but I don't use the double opt-in. I just make sure that I prune heavy.
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you for that, Rich. Let's talk about stopping overthinking and start emailing. This is a thing I think a lot of us, Rich he's asked great questions because he's like, I want to start this again. What do I need to do? Yeah. And the hardest thing for me as I dove into kind of doing what Rich is talking about, starting again, because I think I had almost 8,000 people on my list, and I pruned them heavily because I had been collecting it for years from my podcast, the Pinterest stuff, but I wasn't doing anything. And then when I trimmed it, oh my gosh, that was scary, because I'm like, it was over half. Like, it was a lot. And I did a reactivation sequence based on what Paul was telling me, but I still started lower. But my open rates went way up, and the engagement started happening. So it's scary to do this, but let's talk about the overcoming procrastination part of it, Paul, because a lot of entrepreneurs say, email is important, but then they keep putting it off, and they'll say, I'll start my newsletter when I have more time, which is a thing that we all have said. And or they we all know, we've had some people, in our group actually, that love to tinker with stuff, and they end up tinkering too much with sequences and like opt-ins and all this stuff that they really don't do the work of engaging their community with email. So how do you stop, when you coach people, how do you coach them to stop overthinking and just start? Like some mindset shifts that you kind of coach people through.
Let's not shoot for perfection. Let's shoot for most minimal viable product. Let's get an email out this week. So whether it's writing that first 3 email welcome sequence, or maybe it's just a 1 email welcome sequence, let's just write 1 email as simple and quick as you can. We can perfect it later, but let's just send something this week. So that's kind of what I try to teach people is stop putting it off, and let's take action today, and let's see what happens. I mean, Rich, you've got those 1,500 people. How amazing is it if you get one person to write you back and ask for something from you? There you go. It's a win, right? You now have a one-on-one conversation and a possible sale or supporter or fan or whatever it is that you're going for. That's one more person that you didn't have yesterday, right? So just go ahead and send that email out today. Let's take action now, and let's start getting results now. And then, so many people like to tinker with email, and I'm the same way. You can go in there and you can make this thing do all kinds of things and make it a super powerful race car, like a Rich. We can make the NASCAR of dirt track or the Formula One race car, right? But let's not worry about that. Let's just get it moving down the track first.
That's a great point.
That's great. I love that. And, I think consistency is key in everything that you do as a creator, right? It's consistently showing up for your audience, consistently creating content. And also to Paul's point, it creates that almost like it becomes force of habit, right? The more you start to do it, the muscle memory builds up, and then it becomes easier and easier and easier. And Paul, you recently did something not with email, but with Facebook, where you posted every single day for a month in an experiment for consistency and seeing what could come from that. Did you learn anything from that experiment, and did it apply to becoming more consistent in emailing or reaching out to your audience more consistently overall?
I learned a lot. Well, I learned the biggest lesson, and I knew this going in, is that I do as I say, not as I do. And I do a great job with powwows.com, but on my personal kind of the coaching consulting email, I have not always followed my own advice. And same thing with my personal content. I'm not doing as good as I do over on powwows.com. So it was forcing me to actually look at what I'm doing, look at what I'm saying, how I'm posting content, and trying to get some muscle memory there. And I'm not going to continue posting every day, obviously, but seeing what resonated. If people were actually listening, if people wanted the kind of content. I did find, Connor, interestingly enough, some of my bourbon posts did really well. I think now I'm a bourbon influencer now. But you do see what kind of content resonates with people, right? By doing these kinds of experiments. But it is about, give yourself a challenge. Give yourself the challenge of, hey, I'm going to send out I'm going to write my one email sequence today. I'm going to write my 2 email, whatever it is, right? Let's do that today. And then next week, let's show up and do something else with email, and let's start building that consistency. For me, I'm still working on the personal side of it, but like powwows.com, the first thing I do every day is check my inbox, answer those emails, and then I'm in Kit doing something with email. Before I start any other projects, it's my inbox and Kit to start my day. And it really is the priority of the day.
That's really important. I think, and I agree that I think most, as we move into this AI centered world, that this is going to be more and more important. We do have one more question from Rich that I want to bring up because I think it's really good, really good. He goes, this is another question. What about stats after this is going on? How much attention do you pay to A/B testing, open rates? Is this a science or is it all a crapshoot?
Yes. It's all of the above. The number one stat I look at is my inbox and how many replies I'm getting. That's the most important thing to me. Then, yes, open rates are important. Click-through rates are important. I do occasionally do A/B testing. I've done enough now that I kind of know what subjects actually work for my audience. So I don't do it as often. All that's important. But Rich, the number one thing is let's send out an email today. Let's not worry about stats. Let's worry about how many replies you get, and let's send one email today. And then 6 months from now, we can worry about what our open rates are.
So this final question I want to ask, it's kind of a two-part one. Like, first of all, you've got 100K people, so you have responses, way more than most people do. But for people like me, for Rich, for Connor, who are just kind of, small potatoes maybe, and we're not getting response. It's like it's pretty quiet out there. We're only getting maybe a few opens or replies, and that can be really discouraging. So what's your advice for that? And second of all, like, I was so paranoid when I get unsubscribes. Like, that would freak me out. So talk about those two things, the quiet phase and then the unsubscribe, and then we'll come back to you.
Lou Mangello has said this before, and I think it is important. If you had 3 people in your living room listening to you give a talk, would that be kind of cool? That would be awesome. So as far as how many open rates and how many people click your emails and reply, please don't try to compare yourself to others, and please don't try to compare yourself to what we do at powwows.com. We've been doing it for a long time and have a bigger list. If you can get one person to reply this week, I think that's a huge win, right? And it's not something you should diminish. Unsubscribes to me they can be disheartening. Seeing stats and seeing, in Kit, it shows you how your ups and downs. But take an unsubscribe as a win, because one, it's going to save you money in the long run because Kit does charge by how many subscribers you have. But two, they weren't your people,
right?
And it's okay to get an unsubscribe. If they didn't find your content valuable, I'd rather have them unsubscribe than sitting on my email not opening them. Again, we're worried about deliverability. We're worried about overall list health. So if they're not opening, they're not engaging, it's better that they unsubscribe.
Those are great responses, and good things to remember, because it does freak you out when you lose subscribers because you work so hard to get them. Like when you have a small list, you're like, oh, I lost 10. Oh my gosh, they hate me. Not true. They're just not your people. Nothing to see here. Move on. Right. So that's a really good mindset to keep in mind when you're starting to grow your list. Paul, this has been amazing. Once again, we could go on and on for this, but I would love for you to tell people where they can find out more about you, powwows.com, your trainings, especially about email. So the floor is now yours.
Thank you so much. And
there it is. Go. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do have a course about.
Do it again.
Oh no.
There it is.
There we go. I do have a course on building your first welcome sequence. I'd love for you to take a look at it. Rich out there, thank you for doing that. And we got a 25% off coupon. So that's one place you can find out more about me. But if you have questions, please reach out, paul@powwows.com. I'd love to talk with you. Jeff and I are heading up to Craft and Commerce next week. We'll be at CEX. If you do run into me at a conference, please stop and ask me. I'd love to sit down and talk email with you, or just shoot me an email. I love helping people. I love seeing light bulb moments, especially with email. So please reach out. And if you are interested, I always have to give this pitch. If you're interested in powwows and you want to go to one, they are open to the public. And I encourage everybody should go to one at least. It is a full cultural immersion into Native culture with dancing, singing, food, crafts. Just head over to powwows.com/powwow101 and I'll send you that sequence of emails to tell you what powwows are and how to find one near you.
Awesome. Connor Brown, where can people find out about the unsinkable Connor Brown?
You can find out more about me at vacationkingdoms.com, at Vacation Kingdoms across the social medias, and my new place on Instagram at Theme Park Happy Hour, where I'll be posting eventually videos of Jeff C. drunk at Disney,
No,
amongst other
never.
things, including the best places to find drinks in the Orlando theme parks. It's always awesome having Paul on the show. I've learned so much from him over the years. I'm so grateful to know him, and I hope everyone here learned a lot from him as well.
Yeah, and don't forget to sign up to everybody's email list. Paul's for sure, and Connor's has one as well at Vacation Kingdoms. There's a wasp in my office. That's great. But you can find out and sign up to my newsletter by going to jeffc.com/news. Tuesdays and Fridays is usually when we send out emails. So then hopefully they're value packed. I think they are. People really seem to enjoy them. jeffc.com/news. And don't forget about our amazing friends over at eCam. You can find out more about them at ecam.com/Jeff. And with that, everybody, thank you, Rich. Thank you, Grit and Growth, which is Ralph. I couldn't think of your name, Ralph. And Gary, thank you guys so much for stopping by. We'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.